What is happening, traders? Thank you for tuning in.
It is Monday, March 29th, and we are still coming to you from Los Angeles, California.
This is Jason.
And I'm Andrew.
And we are Let's Talk Trades. We missed you last week, but we are excited to be back. We have a new logo for our podcast.
We are also adding an additional episode this week.
Yes, sir.
And we just want to say thank you to all the traders.
We appreciate you. Did you know you can own a part of the NFL?
What? I'm down to own a part of the NFL? Wait, unless it's a Spac, because my Spacs have been under attack.
No, it's not a Spac. It's more memorabilia than NFL ownership. The Hall of Fame Resort. It is a publicly traded company listed on the NASDAQ under the ticker HOFV.
A Hall of Fame V? They should have went with HOFR.
Or HOFF, Hall of Fame Football. I did a quick Google search. They're both available.
Well, I guess not all tickers make sense. Shout out to the Cheesecake Factory for locking down the ticker cake.
Dang, that ticker makes me hungry.
And as always, traders, we have cooked up 2 solid stories for you this week. And this week's episode just happens to be better than last week's.
Just happens to be better. No way, Andrew. Every episode is better than the last. So hands down, this is the best one yet.
You're right. All right, let's get into this week's stories.
A report on Reuters dated March 24th. Wait, is it Reuters or is it Reuters? I feel like I'm saying it wrong no matter which way I say it.
It's Reuters.
A report on Reuters dated March 24th states the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, in recent days sent letters to the Wall Street banks seeking information regarding their SPAC dealings.
For those of you that don't know, SPAC stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Company. Basically, they're a blank check company with no operations, led by a group of investors with a pile of cash looking to target a private company to bring public.
Right. They've been all the rage in 2020 and even more so in 2021, as around 130 SPACs have gone public this year, raising some $40 billion.
There are now close to 400 SPAC companies on the market looking for a target, and there are at least 100 more SPACs in the pipeline coming out in the next few months.
It seems as if every celebrity investor, or even just regular celebrities, have a SPAC. Chamath Palihapitiya, the famed investor, has SPAC IPO A through Z. Colin Kaepernick has a SPAC. Shaq has a SPAC. Even former House Speaker Paul Ryan has a SPAC. Mad Money's Jim Cramer, aka Jimmy Chill, has even been commenting on the recent SPAC craze, stating the celebrity SPAC plays feel like an inside joke for the super rich.
And this is due to the fact that SPAC performance lately has been underperforming when compared with the rest of the market. And this can get even worse going forward, given the amount of capital that has been raised as SPACs compete with each other for target companies, which will make them potentially overpay. Pre-merger SPACs were going to crazy unrealistic valuations. SPACs targeting EV companies were getting out of hand, just like we all saw with Nikola, who had all the hype but no product. And SPACs are not required to disclose the same information as other private companies who are going to IPO.
But not all SPACs deserve some of the criticism they have been receiving lately.
DraftKings and QuantumScape both went public through SPAC deals in 2020, and they have both given early investors over a 300% return, and they look solid going forward.
So, I mean, there are good SPACs out there.
You just have to do your research. Don't jump into your SPAC just because you like the celebrity on the board.
Doing your research should help, but could you have really known Nikola faked it all?
I mean, I don't know. And that's why the letters from the SEC are going to be interested going forward. Will the SEC make the banks disclose more information regarding SPACs now? And the letters sent to the Wall Street banks, the SEC asked the banks to provide the information voluntarily. And since it's voluntarily, it's not necessary.
However, a person familiar with the situation said the letters were sent by the SEC's enforcement division, suggesting they may be a precursor to a formal investigation. This person said the SEC wanted information on SPAC deal fees, volumes, and asked questions relating to compliance, reporting, and internal controls.
We are going to have to monitor this situation, as it looks like SPACs are here to stay.
For our second story.
All right, imagine you're sitting on the couch with a big bowl of guacamole, and you reach for the chip bag, but there's only like 2 chips in there. Now, that doesn't sound like a fun situation, does it?
No, not at all. Having a good chip-to-dip ratio is crucial.
And that's how the whole world feels right now, because a lot of companies have actually been forced to halt production due to chip shortages.
These chips we are referring to are called semiconductors, not tortilla chips. Almost any product that plugs into a wall now carries a tiny computer inside, and these tiny computers are made possible by semiconductor chips.
Exactly, and semiconductor chips are everywhere. There are multiple chips in every car, plane, boat, phone, computer, gaming system. The list goes on. And chip shortages can have a major effect on the electronics industry, such as when the 2011 Japanese earthquake led to a period when it was very difficult to source all the parts needed for semiconductor chips.
Yeah, after the 2011 earthquake in Japan, there was a severe semiconductor chip shortage. It impacted Qualcomm, a chip manufacturer, enough for them to make a statement announcing the chip shortage.
All right, fast forward 10 years, and the pandemic has wreaked havoc on supply chains, leading to a shortage of chips that is pushing up prices for a long list of products, and even forcing car companies to cut production. Jeep, Dodge, and NIO all halted production last week due to chip shortages.
With the likes of Honda, Toyota, Nissan, Ford, and VW also halting production. Even EV giant Tesla couldn't escape this. They halted production for 2 days in their California plant, citing part shortages as the reason. This is not just a United States shortage. This chip shortage is impacting the entire world.
And the pandemic is not the only factor affecting the supply chain. Other factors include the push for a greener, more environmentally friendly energy grid, and new technologies such as electric cars, 5G phones, and cryptocurrency mining rigs.
About a quarter of all phones sold in 2020 were 5G ready. The percentage will increase in 2021. Also, as electric vehicle production improves, EVs require more and more chips as they get more and more advanced.
The supply chain is getting squeezed.
Whoa. Now let's slow this down. Why does this even matter? And why can't we just produce more semiconductor chips?
Okay, so unlike car engines, chips need to be built in factories with highly controlled environments, known as fabs. Specks of dust, temperature spikes, and even static electricity could damage the intricate workings of semiconductors.
Right. Meeting unexpected demand isn't as simple as setting up another production line and hiring a few more workers. New chip fabs cost billions and can take up to 2 years to build.
And right now, fabs are running at full capacity, and it will take months or even years before new ones will come online to help fill the extra demand.
When the pandemic started shutting down parts of the global economy last year, most economists thought consumer spending would drop off a cliff as people lost their jobs or stopped buying non-essential goods.
And if that happened, the need for these semiconductor chips would be reduced. Except the opposite happened.
Exactly. Auto companies and other electronic makers cut back on production and ordered fewer of the chips needed to make their cars and products, just as the governments began to inject money into their respective economies.
And that strained the supply chain, which ultimately led to the chip shortage we are experiencing.
Also in 2020, the US government restricted American companies from selling to SMIC, a Chinese semiconductor chip manufacturer in China, citing safety concerns for ties to the Chinese military.
And that is another reason leading to the current chip shortage. And some U.S. politicians have been advocating for the government to subsidize a stronger homegrown chip industry.
In February, President Biden signed an executive order that aims for reviews of supply chains for semiconductors and other critical goods.
The new orders are an immediate 100-day review across federal agencies to address vulnerabilities in the supply chains of 4 key products. Those are semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, critical minerals such as rare earths, and large capacity batteries such as those used in electric vehicles. Basically, they want to establish a China-free supply chain.
We need China.
Do we though?
And as technology advances and computers get more and more integrated, semiconductors are going to become even more critical.
And this chip shortage is having a global impact and may be around after the pandemic due to geopolitical and other reasons.
We will have to see how this plays out. Do you guys think this chip shortage will burst the EV bubble?
And if you could think of a better ticker than Cheesecake's Factory's cake, let us know on Twitter at LTT Podcasts.
And remember, traders, there is no party
without the chips.
See you Thursday.
Peace out.